What's up, Jets fans? This is Green Bean, and we learned a whole bunch about our team this week, and we're going to get into it right after I change my look for you with my new barber. Well, what do you think? It's not every day that I get a haircut. I'm going to tell you, I tend to be resistant. I know I have lots of friends. It's like on a schedule. Every 2 weeks, you never even can tell when they get a haircut. You know those guys? If they look the same always. High and tight, perfect, nothing out of place. That's not me. I get a haircut when everybody's like, dude, you need a haircut. That's how it goes for me. So here it is. My barber is now my wife, which is interesting that I even have the trust, right? But I do. I think she did okay, right? Not bad, not bad. I'm happy with it. Let me know in the comments what you think of the haircut, or if you think I need to get an actual barber. But hey, everybody, welcome. Welcome to episode Nick Mangold of the Greenbean's Jets pod. Nick Mangold being number 74. Isn't it crazy? It took me 74 episodes to make the connection that, holy cow, I can associate these episodes with players. Imagine. And it started last week with episode 73. Joe Klecko, of course. One of our very few retired numbers. I saw it afterwards, like I was looking at it. I said, wait a second. Like it just it all came together. I'm like, oh, I missed an opportunity. And then I thought, wait, I missed 72 other opportunities to see. I could have done episode Ken O'Brien, could have done episode Freeman McNeil / Revis, right? Could have done a whole bunch. Episode Tony Richardson, episode Blair Thomas, which is now Michael Carter, so we'll hopefully reinvent the vibe around that number, which will be nice and cool. But so I think, hey, moving forward, we'll pick a player and associate it. Small potatoes, I know, but why not? Why not? It's a thing. So I am Green Bean, of course. I'm happy that you're here, guys. I really am. This is a really great way for me to connect with you guys, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I want to thank everybody who comes by each week. It's just the best. You guys leave so many comments. I try to get back to as many as I can. Most of the time, I read them all, though. So if you're being a scumbag and I didn't respond to you, it's by choice. Usually. I'm just like, who cares, you know? But most of the time, I try to respond. It's harder and harder as we move forward in this thing because of growth, which I'm grateful for. But I do miss like just sitting there and spending the whole week just having these 10 comment threads chatting with you. But I do still appreciate it. So thank you. I want to say hello to everybody listening in their car or brushing their teeth in the audio version. That's, like I said last week, it's exploding, and I really do appreciate it. I also want to let you guys know that our Thursday show with me and Frankie and Jeremy and Y2K and Dom C and all the boys, that show is also now available on audio format. It's available everywhere. I think there might be an issue with Apple, but other than that, Google, Spotify, all those, they all have the Thursday thick of it. So if you want to enjoy that one, like for example, this week's show was 3 hours long. 3 hours and like 12 minutes. Who knew? When we sat down, we had no idea, but 3 hours of fantastic conversation. So that's available on audio as well. So if this one's done, you want more Green Bean action, check out the Thursday thick of it. But guys, it's just such a cool thing to have you here. I do want to take a second and remind you, if you want to let YouTube or the audio overlords know that you appreciate this this podcast, and that you think it's okay, you can hit the like button on YouTube, or you can give me a rating, 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever you feel. If you feel them 1 star, you don't really need, you don't need to do anything, right? You can just let it go. But the guys who like it, go ahead and let them know that you do. It helps me a great deal, and it helps us get exposure. We can get out there, right? So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, that's a fantastic thing to do. It is greatly appreciated. It's a rectangular button that says, that's right, subscribe. So just click on that, and then if you want to be reminded, every time we go live, hit the bell notification. The cool thing with subscribe and the bell is you do it once and it's over. You never have to think about it again. The like button, I'm going to keep bothering you. I'm going to keep bothering you about the like button. So it's important, so I appreciate it. And if you want exclusive content, private access, you want to hang out with just an amazing group of guys, so far only guys, but women are welcome. But if you want to hang out with an amazing group of people, the Beanbaggers is the way to go. The link to that is in the description of this video. And like everything else, I sincerely appreciate it. My hope is to add value to your experience as a Jets fan. And now with the downtime of the offseason, it could be just what the doctor ordered because we're not getting as much, as much juice as we need. I'm trying to fill that with you guys. So it's really, really cool. Now, that said, I want to talk to you guys about something I've been doing for about the last 3-4 weeks, and that is Versus Game. It's just the coolest app. You ever have questions like you're with your friends, you're like, I'll bet Freeman McNeil rushes for more yards than Emmitt Smith, whatever it is. And you do that kind of stuff with your friends all the time. Well, now, if you go on my page, I ask you guys all kinds of questions every day. Who's going to score more points here? Who's going to do that or the other thing? Who's going to do something first? I do all that stuff on there, and you can actually guess to see if you're right. Or if you want to put $1 down or $10 down or $100 down, you can do that. Versus app will find somebody that thinks the exact opposite and wants to put $100 down as well. Hey man, I've seen a few people make a nice little chunk of change on there, so it adds to the fun. I ask different questions every single day, and it's a blast. I can't wait to get to training camp and the season. I'm going to talk all kinds of stuff. Who's going to get more sacks? Who's going to start? We're going to have a blast, and I can't wait to get there. Until then, we're having some fun nonetheless. You can follow me at Versus app. Just download the app, Versus, look for Green Bean, and you'll find all the questions. But there are hundreds of other questions from Bitcoin to Mr. Beast subscriptions, you name it. It's all out there. So let's talk today, man. We have a lot to discuss. This was an interesting week. It really was, especially for the down season that we're in right now. We like to call it the lull. We're even calling the Thursday thick of it the Thursday thin of it because it's thinner news-wise right now. But the cool thing with this week is we had a bunch of press conferences. Obviously, they're in phase 3 of the OTAs and all kinds of stuff. Now, a lot's been coming out, and I want to talk to you guys about that. And we're also going to talk about the Ring of Honor, but I'm going to save that because I have an interesting twist for you. I have a really interesting take, and I think you're going to appreciate it. If not appreciate it, you're going to be in staunch disagreement with me. So that'll be the intelligent gripe. But for now, let's dive right into this with the news of the week. So first off, just because it's kind of unimportant, but it's been talked about and it's a thing, let's just get right through the fact that 2 former Jets happen to retire this week. We have Frank Gore, the guy that Adam Gase just fed the ball to, even though we had young backs that we would have preferred to take a look at, just kept giving Frank Gore the ball, trying to get him as close to the records as he can. Now, Frank Gore, good teammate. Don't have anything negative to say about the guy, but I don't really think of Frank Gore as a Jet. That said, he was here for a season, and he did retire this week. Signed a 1-day contract with the team that he started with and played for 10 years, the San Francisco 49ers, and he is calling it a career. So Frank Gore, one of the greats, is gone from the NFL. And another one, Ryan Fitzpatrick, retired, called it a career after 17 seasons playing for 9 teams. One of those teams was, in fact, the New York Jets. And here's an interesting thing about Ryan Fitzpatrick. I see both sides on Twitter and Jetnation. People are either like, hey, man, guy was a great Jet. He's our passing touchdowns leader and all kinds of stuff. Second most yards, most ever touchdowns with 31. So you got a good positive vibe about him. Then you got other guys like screw that guy. He gave us a whole illusion of in the 2015 season. He made us believe, and then he did the thing that Fitzpatrick does, which he goes from Fitzmagic to Fitztragic, and he threw 5 interceptions or so in the Buffalo loss to get us into the playoffs. It was win and we're in. We were 10-5. The Rex Ryan-led Buffalo Bills had 2 wins at the time, and we lost because of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Of course, it's a team effort, but come on. Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't exactly help the cause, and we lost. So that's the last time that we ever saw anything worthy of being a fan of, was 2015. So other Jets fans are saying, screw this guy. And then he held us hostage for a contract, the whole thing. I think we had a good time in 2015. I absolutely blame him for the loss. And I think that guys like him and Brandon Marshall, as great as they could have been, and who can deny the talent of Brandon Marshall? In truth, it was Brandon Marshall that made Fitzpatrick look as good as he did, but who can deny his talent? But the truth is neither Marshall or Fitzpatrick ever made it to the playoffs. So what does that tell you about them? I don't know. Some people would call it chokers. You know what I mean? Some people would say, things like that. Now, as far as the men themselves, it is what it is. They had great careers. They made a lot of money. Fantastic. But as far as New York Jets, I think, hey, we have to acknowledge what he did. But I'm not a Ryan Fitzpatrick fan. And I'm glad. I'm just going to go away already. Just go away already. Get out of here. He'll probably coach or something. Who knows? But that happened, so let's get right past that. We had 2 retirements. We saw a whole bunch of press conferences that gave us meat on the bone. All these press conferences, usually it's like blah, 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 little coach speak here, little coach speak there. But we heard some things that we can actually gnaw on a little bit. So let's start with one of the bigger ones, and that's Jeff Ulbrich. Jeff Ulbrich, as you guys know, is our defensive coordinator. He's in charge of our defense. And now, Saleh is a defensive head coach, so technically, it's a solid defense that we're installing, but Jeff Ulbrich is running it. Saleh's trying real hard to be that CEO head coach. So Ulbrich's the man as far as our defense is concerned. Now, his first year, and let's not forget that was his first full season as a defensive coordinator. He had that interim spot down there for the Falcons for half a season or so. This was his first job as a full-time defensive coordinator. So what does that make him? A rookie. Okay, so he was a rookie DC. We had the 32nd ranked defense last year. Now, if you look at the story, it tells a different story than the result, right? If you look at the box score, when you just go through the NFL list of defenses, you go, wow, the Jets suck. They were the worst. When you look at the story, there's a lot of reasons for that, and we won't get into them today, but one of them is the being decimated with injuries. We lost, before the season even started, he lost his number 1 and number 2 edge rusher in Carl Lawson and Vinny Curry. He also lost Ronald Blair, one of the vets that Saleh likes to kind of be the glue. He lost his starting linebacker that they brought in free agency, Jared Davis. Game 1, he lost his starting safety, LaMarcus Joyner. A few games later, he lost his other starting safety in Marcus May. The guys that were replacing Jared Davis, Jamie Sherwood, he got hurt. And then the guy who was replacing Carl Lawson and Vinny Curry, Bryce Huff, then he gets hurt. He was able to come back, but it really was a tumultuous year as far as what we had to deal with. Being a first-year install, we started more rookies than anybody else and all that. When you look at the injury piece, Ulbrich actually commented on that, and he said, I think that this year, with the depth that we have, and it scares me when we talk about this shit, because last year he was talking about Carl Lawson getting the numbers that he's kind of deserving of, because when he pushes quarterbacks into the pocket, there's not going to be a pocket, and blah, blah, blah. We heard all, got us excited. So this year he's saying that he's impressed with our offseason additions. He really likes them. Speaking of Solomon Thomas, Marcel Harris, and then Jermaine Johnson and Michael Clemens and all the guys that we brought in, Jacob Martin, to go along with Quinnen Williams, JFM, and Carl Lawson. But the thing that's ruffling everybody's feathers is when he said that he wants his defensive line rotation to be 30 or 35 snaps a game. Now, If we're looking at guys, if we're going to hold guys like, let's just use Quinnen Williams as an example. If we're going to hold Quinnen accountable to stats, he only got 7 sacks this year, whatever. He sucks. He doesn't deserve $18 million. When we're looking at it that way, you got to think, how can he get those sacks at a pitch count that's so extreme, 30 snaps a game, man? What Ulbricht is saying, he went on to say, listen, with the design of our defense, we're not asking the guys to catch blocks, to read blocks. We're asking them to pin their ears back like their ass is on fire and destroy the line. We're asking them to be balls to the wall. He said with that type of defense, there's a higher level of fatigue and risk of injury. So he wants them to be fresh. In his words, the moment they get tired, boom, there's another guy to come in. So in theory, I get it. I really do. I think it makes sense. That said, I find it hard to swallow that a guy like Nathan Shepard or even Solomon Thomas are going to be on an even pitch count with Quinnen Williams or JFM or Carl Lawson or Jermaine Johnson, right? Like, you want these guys to be on the field so they have the opportunity to be great, to come up big in big moments. So it's making a lot of waves, and I think rightfully so. That said, in the event we keep healthy, let's say the team is actually healthy and we keep these guys rotating in. It is how the Giants did it, not this extreme, but when they won their 2 Super Bowls, they had a very deep defensive line that can come in, and they also had a very similar rotation in Philadelphia for their Super Bowl run. They had numerous, like 4 defensive ends that were technically starter quality, or at least for the most part, and they just rotated these guys, and the DNs were always fresh. Now, the problem with that comes in when you have a drop-off in talent. But what Ulbricht also said is that we want them to absolutely rip off the ball. We want things on our terms. Hey, for a defensive guy to come out and say that, I applaud it. That's everything I ever want for a defense. Say, no, we don't plan for you. You have to account for us. We're coming in. We're going to do what we do. You'd better figure out a way to stop us, or we're just going to destroy you and kick your ass up and down the field. I love it. That said, what is Ulbricht's ability to adjust when things aren't working like that? And I don't know, taking your greater players or the people that have potential to be great off the field because you're stuck on some hard line pitch count. I don't know. I have a difficult time. With it, especially because I'm predicting that Quinnen Williams will have 14.5 sacks this year. That's right. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody's naysaying me out there. Oh, it's impossible, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. It's what I want. It's what I'm saying. You heard it here, and I'm sticking to it. 14.5 sacks. They better get him on the field for 45 plays, though. So we'll see how it goes. That said, guys, we do have a nice deep rotation. If they can stay healthy, we did a good job this offseason. You bring the guys back like Vinny Curry and Carl Lawson who weren't there last year, and then add Solomon Thomas, Jacob Martin, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Clemens, and you got Bryce Huff, Jabari Zuniga, Bradley Anaya. You got a lot of guys in there that can play. Somebody who's pretty good is going to get pushed off the roster, and that's a good problem to have. Maybe we can keep some on the practice squad, but who knows? Hopefully they just stay healthy, and this is a good problem to have. Let's see if we can actually get there. Now, LaFleur also had a press conference. And Mike LaFleur is our offensive coordinator. And they went into some detail about the fact that they only really have LaFleur and Calabrese in the quarterback room. Last year, as we know, they hired Matt Cavanaugh in kind of an emergency capacity. We lost Greg Knapp tragically. LaFleur said, look, we had a game plan last year, and suddenly, tragically, we had to change the whole thing. And in his words, which sucked. He said it sucked last year. So they brought in Matt Cavanaugh. They had to figure out everything with him. Ultimately, it was positive, but took some time to get it going. And then they brought in Zach's quarterback coach, John Beck, which also was just so Zach has a familiar and comfortable voice in the room. So there's a lot there. You got LaFleur, you got Calabrese trying to become who he's going to become. You got Matt Cavanaugh, who's, he's well-traveled. He's a pro, right? But he's coming in, he's trying to figure out who we are on the fly. And then you had John Beck trying to translate everything to Zach Wilson. So this year, it's just LaFleur and Calabrese. He actually let us know. He said, just so you're aware, Rob Calabrese was courted this year for an offensive coordinator job. He chose to stay. Now, why would he do that? Probably because, hey, man, I don't want to, I was 1 year as a quarterback coach and go out there and fall on my face and then it ruins my name. Build it slowly. I think it's probably smarter for him to stay. But isn't that interesting? Rob Calabrese was courted as an offensive coordinator. Saleh went on to say that Calabrese is absolutely coordinator quality. He's got coordinator in his future. And don't forget, we actually used Rob Calabrese as the offensive coordinator in the Senior Bowl. And let me tell you, the offense was fluid. You saw the use of the tight ends. You saw the use of the running backs. It was really a smooth offensive game plan. Now, I doubt it was Rob Calabrese's designed offense, probably a lot of LaFleur, but at the same time, he showed, hey, man, I can do this. We saw Middleton as the head coach and all that, but Rob Calabrese was the offensive coordinator and called all the plays. So I thought that was fascinating. I had no idea that Rob Calabrese was so well thought of after 1 year as a quarterback coach and seeing the performance of Zach Wilson last year. He had his ups and downs, right? He had his ups and downs. So another thing about LaFleur's press conferences is he talked about learning what his players can do. They were kind of bending him on, hey, well, what'd you learn? You were a rookie, Bob. But he said, the biggest thing was actually learning what my players can and can't do. Trying to install and run my offense. For example, the first quarter of the year, he was out there in 12 and 22 personnel all these times, and we didn't have the personnel. Whether it was Ryan Griffin, Croft, Westcott, they're trying to smash these guys into these roles, and they weren't able to do it. He learned throughout the season, wow, I better go to this, I better figure this out. And we saw him at least do that, which is really positive. But he's talking about having a better understanding of who his players are this year. I think that makes a ton of sense. That's what you're hoping that your coordinators will figure out. But we talked a lot about it last year. They want to be able to dictate to the defense what they want to do. And similarly to what we just heard Jeff Ulbrich say about the defense, the offense wants to be able to have them plan for us. We don't want to play it a certain way or change too much because of what the defense, we want them to have to alter to what we're doing. So when you think about guys, like some of the wide receivers, we saw Elijah Moore on the outside a lot. We even saw tight ends on the outside. We brought in the personnel. We brought in two, NFL caliber tight ends, one with 50 catches, one with 61 catches, brought those guys in, and then we brought in Breece Hall at the running back position and then used a first-round pick on another wide receiver. So looks like they're trying to really piece this together, and having that understanding of what his players can do can only lead to a more fluid offense. Right? So it was nice to hear him talk about that. Speaking of tight ends, he talked about Conklin a little bit, and he said one of the main reasons that they wanted him was he missed one game in 4 years. So it's like, you think that our team isn't aware of the injuries, right? Like they know that it needs to stop. They're aware of what's happening. They know how much of a linchpin it can be in your plans, and they know that something needs to happen. What's a good way to do that? Well, go grab Conklin, who's missed one game, Laken Tomlinson, who's missed one game in 5 or 6 years. These are the guys we're bringing in. Now, the Jets curse is still very real. We don't know what's going to happen to these guys. At the same time, let's combat it with as many guns as we can. We're not only bringing in young, healthy guys, we're bringing in guys that haven't missed games all that often. Now, Uzoma was a different story, but you can see that there's some attention being placed on it. In addition to what Saleh said about the OTAs, look, we learned a lot last year. It's a significantly less intense OTA period. They plan to bring guys up slower. He talked specifically about the running game. They're not doing as attack style running drills and all that kind of stuff because they want to save people's health. I think it's fantastic. What that shows me, man, is that our coaches, they really are new. They're young coaches. Now, young coaches can take two routes. One is, I don't give a shit. This is my way or the highway. You got a Matt Patricia, you got Todd Bowles, these guys. They just, nope, this is what I do. And it works or it doesn't work. And then you got guys like, you know what? My plan didn't work last year. Let me try this. What was wrong with what I did? Well, I didn't account for this. And they adjust and they grow and they learn. So far, it seems like Saleh and LaFleur might be on that end. I don't know about Ulbricht. We'll see. but it seems like our staff is at least learning. So another interesting thing in Salah's presser was, a lot of the times people ask me all the time, why the hell are we talking about our fifth wide receiver so much in Denzel Mims? Why do we talk about this guy so much? And it's like, you think about it. Why do we talk about Denzel Mims so much? Well, one thing is because a lot of guys like him, like myself included. We like him. And we want him to succeed. I know all Jets fans, or most, want him to succeed. There are some fans out there that want him to fail so they could be right. I get it. I know all about you guys. I see you all the time. But most Jets fans just want our receivers to be good. But that said, he's still, right now, he stands as the 4th, 5th, 6th wide receiver on the depth chart. So why do we talk about him so much? I'm going to tell you exactly why. In addition to anybody's feelings and interests and curiosities, because Salah is asked about Denzel Mims in every single press conference. He's also asked about Mekhi Becton in every single press conference. It's by a specific guy who we have been telling you guys for 2 years is absolutely motive-driven. You guys got to stop reading these fucking blowhards, man. You got to stop reading these guys. It's the only way it'll stop. They're digging because they want to have fuel for the fire. Now, the question came from the same guy as always, and he asks about Denzel Mims. And he says, what's going on with him over here? And Salah says, look, number one, he looks great. He's in fantastic shape. He's working his ass off. Thing is, last year after the sickness, he was never able to develop the lower half power. You can see the difference in his explosiveness. So it was interesting to hear that. He just said, hey, look, when I'm saying in shape, what I mean is he was sick all last year. Then don't forget he got COVID 3/4 through the season on top of it. They're just asking him, what's up with him? What's up with him? What's up with him? He's like, look, I need to say this to you. Like, he was never well last year. He was never 100%. So he looks great. He's been working all offseason. He looks explosive. He looks crisp, all those things. So let's just go and give the guy a chance to actually work and make the team. And that was, look, we don't want to talk about the same two guys all year, but that's the thing is that these points keep getting brought up. So it causes us to need to talk about them because we get tidbits on it, right? The other thing was Mekhi Becton. I want to just point something out. Mekhi Becton is not at OTAs. The reason is because he's already in a rehab program with Duke Manyweather, widely regarded one of the top offensive line gurus out there. He's been working and rehabbing with him for a while now. So that's down in Texas. It just so happens that their family is down in Texas, he and his girlfriend, and they just had their first child. So I want to point out, though, that as much as we hear about Mekhi Becton, I don't even think any of us knew that George Fant isn't there either. Did you know that? He's in Florida. He's working out in Florida. Why doesn't anybody ask about George Fant? Because they don't care about George. They want us to talk about Mekhi Becton because they have narratives. Now, that all said, Salah said, look, he's down there with his first child, which is more important. I also want to point out that players have come out, Justin Hardy namely, has said, look, we want him to be down there with his she's not his wife, but his girlfriend and new baby. The teammates, like, we're taking it, it's being presented to us as if the team is like, that piece of garbage, he doesn't even care about us. It's not that. The team knows exactly what's going on, and they're saying, hey, man, stay there. It's not mandatory. When training camp comes or mandatory minicamp, just be up here for that. When you have the opportunity to be with your girlfriend, first-time child, first-time mother, those first few weeks, that first month, absorb it. It only happens once. You're only going to get to have the first few weeks of your first child one time in your entire life. And it just so happens there's a voluntary thing you could do at the same time, which is just classwork and running through 7-on-7s and such. So, it's interesting. I think they're probably tired of answering these questions, quite frankly. I know I'm tired of talking about it. I am. I wish it would just be like, let's just see where it goes. We know he's working. We know that there's legitimate reasons for him to miss it. Why are we emphasizing this so much? Again, because it's asked every single time. But thought it was a little interesting, too, that they didn't even talk about George Fant. And Salah mentioned that he's down there in Florida. He said I talked to him in Florida and he was covered in sweat, so I know he's working out. Did you even know that George Fant wasn't there? I bet you didn't. I didn't. I swear, I didn't even know until Salah said that. Now, I don't know for how long or for what reason, I don't know. But again, we weren't told that because nobody cares. They only care about Becton because they want you to think and feel a certain way. So another interesting presser. I was fascinated. I just fell in love with DJ Reed. If you guys haven't had a chance to listen to this guy yet, you know how Michael Carter just has that magnetic personality? You like within 30 seconds, you're like, oh, I like this guy. DJ Reed, in not exactly the same way, is similar. I was fascinated. I found myself very curious, very interested in what he had to say. And he talked about a few things. One is we found out that he won't eat French toast, won't do it. Okay? He just won't do it. He said, it doesn't appeal to me. I want nothing to do with French toast. The press couldn't even believe it. They kept trying to say, why don't you try it? He doesn't want to try French toast.
I never said, ooh, that French toast looks good. Like, my girl would get French toast, and I would literally see it, and it just looks like thick bread with butter on it. Like,
So why not?
That just doesn't appeal to me. Like, I just won't even try it. I'm like, why? Never mind. You do you, babe. Like, I'm gonna just get my waffles because I know that's gonna be good.
Why Did you ever try it?
Never tried it. And then somebody said that they got eggs in it. Like, I'm cool.
He'll eat waffles. Okay, so we found that out, but he said some interesting things. One is that he feels like this D can be special. Now, look, we always hear this stuff, right? We hear Jamal was talking about him and C.J. Mosley being the next Ray Lewis and Eddie Reed and all this. So we thought that we don't hear this stuff all the time. But it's interesting for us because a lot of fans, when we look at how this team is being created, we tend to feel that if it lands, if our coaches can coach, that we have some talent here. We have some real talent, and not one or two guys. There's a lot of talent. Now, DJ Reed coming in, played for Salah before, played in San Fran and in Seattle, comes over here, and he's looking around, and he's saying, you know what? I think this D can be special. And he also went on to say, this is the best cornerback room that he's ever been in. Now, who's in it, right? We got Brandon Eccles, Michael Carter II. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Bryce Hall. So he's talking about looking around at these guys and saying, holy shit. Like, holy cow, we have some talent. All of them are young, man. The only aged vet in there is LaMarcus Joyner. I mean, even our vets are 25 years old, DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead. It's like these guys are young. So what they've done around, and especially in that position group, has really drawn DJ's attention to it. And he said, wait, we can not only can we be good, this can be special. And he talked about it's not so far-fetched to think that the Jets can make the playoffs or even the Super Bowl this year. He said, don't forget, I'm not just talking, I did it. He was on a team that was 4-12 and next year went to the Super Bowl. They got a couple guys back, Jimmy G and some others. They drafted a couple guys, Nick Bosa and some others, and they went to the Super Bowl. So what just happened here? Second year in for the system, second year quarterback, got some guys back, drafted a few guys, Sauce, Jermaine, Breeze, Garrett, bring those guys on. And who knows what can happen. But it's interesting when you get these guys over here, like David Carr said in his interview this week. Dude, they have a collection of young guys that they weren't told that they're supposed to suck. They don't know that. They don't know, oh, this is the Jets. You're not allowed to be good. They have no idea, no concern. They're going to go out there and they're going to fucking be good. That's what they're going to do. And it's nice to hear those things. Very cool. A very cool comment from him was when he talked about Elijah Moore, he said, that guy's legit. That guy is legit. He said he got him that day that he was interviewed. He said, Moore got me today. He's going to get him, but he said, that guy he's no joke. He's legit. And he talked about Garrett Wilson. He said, I love that we picked Garrett Wilson because he's slippery. He said, the guy can get away from you. He's going to be able to lose most cornerbacks. Now, DJ Reed going against Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson, what did he say? He said, it's awesome. It's awesome. They're going to make each other better. He said, because those guys, they're good. Coming out of practice, already playing against Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore, going against these other receivers is going to be, they're going to be honed. It was so fascinating to listen to these guys. There's so much going on because we have a new air about us at One Jets Drive. Last year, they were rooks. They're now in their place for a season. They had their first off season together. Forget last year, before their season, they're just getting hired. They're filling out W-2s. You know what I mean? That's what they're doing. They're trying to figure all this out. Solid didn't even get in his house. He's getting screwed over by Jersey contractors. All kinds of fun stuff's going on. This is their first year that they've been able to sit here. They've been able to evaluate, and they're going into their second season. And I think we might be onto something here. And that is the news of the week. So we had another really fantastic thing take place this week. Big week, Jets fans, big week. We had 3 new inductees to our Ring of Honor. The bottom of the upper deck up there, it says all their names, guys like Wayne Krebet and Joe Namath and Mark Gastineau and Joe Klecko. They're all on our Ring of Honor. We found out this week that we're going to get 3 more fantastic New York Jets. Those guys are Darrelle Revis, whose number I think should maybe be retired if he makes it into the Hall. I think that should be retired. And not for nothing, it actually grabs another guy, one of my favorite Jets of all time, Freeman McNeil, and it retires his number too. And then we could put a little slash, Revis McNeil, 24 is gone. That would be nice. But Darrelle Revis, Nick Mangold, and D'Brickashaw Ferguson, who absolutely deserves to be in the Ring of Honor. The guy was drafted right next to Nick Mangold in 1990 or 2006, and he missed 1 snap by design in 10 years. Could you imagine? What is that like? Nick Mangold and D'Brickashaw Ferguson, when they were drafted, they just played for us the whole time. We never had to worry about rehab time. We never had to worry about them being, limping or any. It was just they were solid, dude. That is so valuable. So both guys got into the Ring of Honor together, and I think that actually makes a bunch of sense. Even if they weren't thinking maybe one was it was the time for him, like maybe D'Brickashaw Ferguson could have been in the next batch or something like that. But I think it's interesting that they chose to put them in together. They came on the team together. They played for a decade together, and they almost went out together. Nick Mangold stayed a little bit longer, 1 or 2 seasons longer than Ferguson, but they were kind of together. They were a team. They were an item. They were one thing on our offensive line. So they get inducted into the Ring of Honor, which is fantastic. I have no issues with those 3 guys. I don't have anything negative to say. But there was someone ominously and conspicuously missing from that list, and he was jumped over for these 3 guys, which I do have a gripe with. So for that, let's get into the intelligent gripe. So let's talk about this guy who was skipped over for the Ring of Honor. Arguably the best linebacker that has ever put on a New York Jets uniform, a 13-year vet, all with the New York Jets, born October 21st, will be turning 52 years old this year. Mr. Mo Lewis, the first thing anybody ever thinks about with this guy, and it's a friggin' tragedy, is one play in 2001, which, by the way, was an amazingly powerful and positive play for the New York Jets when it happened. I will tell you, 99.9% of Jets fans, when it happened, applauded Mo Lewis for what he did to Drew Bledsoe. Now, nobody's hoping for, serious injury or anything. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about on the football field. I want to remind you, in 2001, Mo Lewis ran to the left. Drew Bledsoe was scrambling to the right, and he crushed him, knocked him out of the game. Week 2 of that season, he had all kinds of internal bleeding. It was a crushing hit. It's exactly what we want our linebackers to do. Jarring hits on the opposing team, especially quarterbacks, you want your linebackers to do that. But yet, somebody came in, Tom Brady came in, a lowly 6th round pick nobody had ever heard of, and ended up becoming Tom Brady. I'm gonna bring this to today's comparison, because people can't seem to get it out of their minds. Let's say week 1 this year, Jermaine Johnson or C.J. Mosley come around the left side and crushes Lamar Jackson, ends up putting him out of the game. Is that not a positive for the team? Again, not rooting for injury, but is that not a positive? If C.J. Mosley stuffs Lamar Jackson so he can't even come back in the game, is that not a positive for the game? So now Brett Hundley comes in and ends up being the greatest quarterback of all time. Does that make C.J. Mosley's hit any worse? Does it make it? Is it not a positive if our linebackers rough up the Ravens this year, week 1? That's what it's like, but not even, because Brett Hundley's at least been in the league for 8 years. Tom Brady was a young buck. It just so happened. Mo Lewis should never be criticized for how hard he played and how wonderfully powerful that play was. Now, a lot of you guys, if you're younger fans, you might not even remember or know who Mo Lewis is. Well, that's the guy that started Tom Brady, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background. That was the period of time when I was in my most intense fandom. I graduated high school in 1991. That's the year that Mo Lewis was drafted in the 3rd round. Super humble guy, came out of Georgia, loved him right away. As a matter of fact, he won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Mo Lewis, a New York Jet, wins Defensive Rookie of the Year in 1991. The next 7 years, Mo Lewis was skipped over and ignored by the NFL. Jets fans at large, we were furious. It was such a painful thing that even the New York media wrote articles about how ridiculous it was that Mo Lewis wasn't either in the Pro Bowl or All-Pro. Every single year he was ignored and skipped over. He was just forgotten. He had better seasons than the guys who were making it in, guys that you'll know as legends. Guys like Junior Seau and Derek Thomas, God rest both of their souls. Love those. They were great players. But guess what? Mo Lewis was better than them, having more of an impact on the team than they were at that time. You don't believe me? Okay, you give me a break. This is bullshit. This is just Homer fandom. Is it? Because I'm gonna give you direct numbers right now. Okay, 1994. Let's talk about 1994. Mo Lewis's 3rd year. He comes in, he plays all 16 games, which, by the way, he did 12 of the 13 season that he played for us. He missed games once. One time, he didn't play every single game for us. So not only is he a 13-year vet, all with the Jets, he happened to play every friggin' game except for one season he had an injury. So 12 years, he was our linebacker. Now, we changed from 4-3 to 3-4. Did it affect Mo Lewis? Nope. You needed a coverage linebacker? Sure, I'll get interceptions for you. You need a pass rusher? Sure, I'll get 10 sacks. It didn't matter what it was or what we asked him to do. He excelled at it. So let's talk about 1994. The playoff linebackers in 1994 for the AFC, Junior Seau and Derek Thomas. Okay, those are 2 guys just bringing out the best. There were other linebackers, right? But just bringing out the best linebackers of that year. And who made the Pro Bowl ahead, even All-Pro. You tell me who should make the Pro Bowl. One guy has 155 tackles, 124 of them were solo. 5.5 sacks, 0 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, and 3 fumble recoveries. Now let's look at the other guy. He has 130 tackles, so 25 less tackles, 4 interceptions, so 2 more interceptions for 106 yards, 2 of which he ran back for touchdowns. So he had 4 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 6 sacks. So he had more interceptions, more touchdowns, more sacks, and an equal fumble recovery, 25 less tackles. So you tell me who's supposed to make the Pro Bowl. Let's even add. I'll add another guy. So he has 71 tackles, 11 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, no interceptions. So you hear it? I'll go over it again. 155 tackles, 5.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 3 fumble recoveries, 130 tackles, 4 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 6 sacks. And the other one has 71 tackles, 11 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, no interceptions. You tell me who's supposed to make it. 2 of those guys made it. Two of those guys made it. Both were All-Pros as well. One was an All-Pro 1, one was an All-Pro 2. Guess who didn't make it? It's the guy with 130 tackles, 4 interceptions, 2 touchdowns, 3 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and 6 sacks. So the guy that didn't make it, obviously, is Mo Lewis. Okay? Ignored. That went on year after year after year. Even if there were some years that maybe he was right there, maybe a little lower, but he was ignored. If you go over and you look at Junior Seau's Stat sheet, it goes Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, All Pro, All Pro, Pro Bowl, All Pro. That's his. Derek Thomas, All Pro, All Pro, Pro Bowl, Pro Bowl, Pro. That's what Mo Lewis, nothing. Defensive Rookie of the Year, nothing. He was the best player on the Jets for a decade. A decade. And you know why he got ignored? For the same reason Joe Klecko got ignored. Because the team wasn't good. The first year Mo Lewis made the Pro Bowl was 1998. You want to know why? Anybody want to take a guess why? Was it because he had his best season? No. It wasn't even his best season. It was a good season. It's fine. It's because Bill Parcells came here and we were 12-4. That's why. Now, as far as good teams and all that, like, we know, we're not stupid people. Of course, the better teams are going to get more hoopla, more attention, all that's fine. But we shouldn't be ignoring players that are some of the best in the NFL. I'm going to tell you this right now. If Mo Lewis played for the Dallas Cowboys, not only would he have been a perennial All-Pro, perennial Pro Bowler, he'd be in the Hall of Fame right now. When you look at his numbers, they're insane. Okay? Always sacks, always interceptions, touchdowns, forced fumbles. He's got like 35 forced fumbles in his career. The guy knew how to do it. He was such an impact player, and he's forgotten. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't want to be in the Ring of Honor, right? I can't speak to any of that stuff. I don't know those details, and if I did, I could probably formulate a stronger opinion here. But for what I know right now, I look at Mo Lewis, I watched his entire career with fervor, like the way you guys are watching now. I watched the 90s. All right, I was there. I was at every single game for however many years, tailgating the whole thing. I watched almost every play of Mo Lewis's career. He was the best. The best. He was an impact player. Again, if he was the outside linebacker in a 3-4 with Parcells, he thrived. They were a 4-3. He thrived. You know how players, like, if you move them 2 feet over into a different gap, they suck? You know what I mean? They can only play 3 gap. They can only play. That's how specific and fickle players are. Mo Lewis didn't matter what you asked him to do. He thrived, just like Joe Klecko. Same type of thing. He's the best linebacker that we've ever had. Now, there are guys like Grantham, who's in our Ring of Honor. He played from 1960 to 1972. I can't speak on him. Clearly, he was good. You look at stats; they're harder, to really disseminate. They are. They didn't even keep sacks and tackles for a loss. None of that stuff. So it's hard. The Jets seem to think that he was worthy of it. Looks good to me. I'm all for it. There are probably old heads who think, oh, absolutely, he's better than Mo Lewis. Maybe. So let's just say that. At worst, he's the second best linebacker we've ever had. And I loved Marvin Jones. Loved him. I loved Kyle Clifton. By the way, another forgotten player. He would lead the league in tackles every single year. Nothing. They gave him nothing. So it's time, guys. It is time that we flip this script on what Mo Lewis is. You guys know one of the jerseys I wear most is Mo Lewis, 57 Mo Lewis. Why? Because I want the world to know he was one of the best. Again, if he was on the Cowboys or the Redskins of the day or the Giants with Bill, he would be in the Hall of Fame. That's how good he was. But instead, he's not even able to make our Ring of Honor. What is the deal? And I'm tired of Jets fans that tell me, oh, Mo Lewis should be in the Patriots Hall of Fame. Oh, he sucked. Dude, one play, a play that we would want him to do 100 times out of 100. What happened after? Think about that. If he somehow got Mahomes out of the game, and then the guy who comes in is better than Mahomes, it's ridiculous. It's the most ridiculous take out there in all of Jets fandom. That Mo Lewis is somehow not a Jet, not one of our greats because of Tom Brady came in when he knocked out the highest paid quarterback in the NFL at the time. He just signed the first $100 million contract, Drew Bledsoe. And don't forget, Drew Bledsoe didn't suck after that. He went to the Bills. He was the MVP of the NFL in 2007, 6 years later. Drew Bledsoe was good, man. All right, so it's revisionist history. It is time. If you're too young to know about Mo Lewis, take a minute. You're going to love it. Go check him out. whatever you can find. All you're going to see, you got to navigate through all the hit. The one hit, the one hit, the one hit. It's like all anybody talks about. And it was a great hit on top of that. If you don't know Mo Lewis, get to know him. If you forgot how great Mo Lewis was, jog your memory. Remember it. It's time we honor this guy. He was a New York Jet, number 57 for 13 years. Injured only one season. 16 games a season of Mo Lewis. Whatever you needed him to do, not only did he do it, he succeeded and thrived at it. Called the best player in New York more than 1 year, and that included the Giants players. He was the best player in New York. Give Mo your love. It's time. It's time we recognize this guy. It's time. Just like Klecko and Gastineau should be in the Hall of Fame, at minimum, Mo Lewis should be in our Ring of Honor. The fact that we skipped over him is the only thing that gives me a bad taste about these three awesome, amazing Jets making it in now. They are all worthy. And I loved all of them too. But why are we skipping over the 90s of our greatest linebacker to get to them? I don't understand. And it's high time Mo Lewis is respected. And that is the intelligent gripe. Woo! Okay. Well, I'm all fired up now. I want to go do something. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll go to Lowe's. Yeah. Maybe I'll go to Lowe's and buy some wood to chop. I chop some wood. So anyway, guys, I do appreciate you being here. It's been a great week. This is going to be a fun season. All we have to do really is stay healthy. If we do that, I think that we're going to have a good year. Exciting. We're going to see competent football. This is the most talented roster we've had in recent memory, and it's not a bunch of hired guns and mercenaries. These are our guys. 8 out of 10 of them are ours. We develop them. We bring them up. We brought them in the first place. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Zach Wilson, AVT, Mekhi Becton, all these guys. It's going to be fun. And I hope that we get to enjoy it. Guys, don't forget the opening day festivities are just getting started. We are gearing up for one of the greatest opening day get-togethers of all time. We got Sack Exchange from the Jet Lounge, Gotham City Crew, Jetnation, Ryan from Jets Talk 24/7, Richie from Jets Media, Matt O'Leary, Buffalo Jetsfan. All of us are going to be together outside that stadium, tailgating. You're all invited. We're going to have the best time ever. I hope that you guys can make it. We're going to give you all the information soon, and it looks like we are even going to have on the Saturday before the game, September 10th, we're going to do Jets Chant on the Coney Island Cyclone 2.
J-E-T-S, Jets, Jets, Jets. Woo!
We're going to do part 2 where we all meet there, get on the Cyclone in our Jets gear and do the Jets chant from the top of the Cyclone. And I hope you can make that as well. Guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I off on Mo Lewis? I already know I'm not, but I'll hear your side. Mo Lewis was one of the best to ever play the game, and he's forgotten. And it's the saddest damn thing in the world, and we should be pissed. That's my take. Take that and make of it what you will. Have a great week, everybody, and go Jets.